You ever notice how bad news just sticks? Way more than good news. Or how when someone predicts total doom, they just sound, I don't know, smarter, more profound than someone who says things are going to be okay? Well, there's actually a pretty powerful reason for that. And that's what we're going to get into right now. The strange, seductive power of pessimism.
This right here, this captures the whole paradox perfectly. Think about it. You've got the optimist. Tell someone everything's going to be great, and what do they think? Oh, here comes the salesman, right? But then you have the pessimist. Tell that same person the world is ending, and all of a sudden, you sound like a deep thinker, an intellectual. It's wild. Pessimism just has this intellectual charm to it. It gets treated like serious wisdom, while optimism, well, that's just for people who don't see the risks.
And this gets right to the heart of it. Tell someone they're in danger, and you have their complete, undivided attention. It's a magnet. It's literally a survival instinct hardwired into us. I mean, good news is nice, sure, but a threat, a potential danger, your brain immediately flags that as pay attention now. You just can't ignore it.
Okay, so this isn't just some weird little quirk in our brains. It actually has a massive impact on how we see the world. So let's look at a few real-world examples that show just how much doom and gloom dominate the headlines.
Okay, take yourself back to the 2008 financial crisis. Remember that feeling? It felt like everything was falling apart. And right on cue, the Wall Street Journal runs this story, front page, about a professor predicting the US would literally break into 6 different pieces. And because everyone was already so scared, it was actually treated like a serious, plausible forecast.
All right, now let's flip the script for a second. Let's go way back. Imagine it's post-war Japan, say 1946. The country's economy is just gone. The infrastructure is in total ruins. From where they were standing, the future looked about as bleak as it could possibly get. Utterly hopeless.
But now, look at what actually happened. I mean, look at this timeline. If someone, anyone, back in 1946 had predicted this, that Japan would not just recover, but would become this global economic giant, people would have laughed them out of the room. It would have sounded like pure science fiction, but it's exactly what happened. See, predictions of doom always get a stage, but accurate predictions of, let's call it, outrageous optimism, nobody takes those seriously until after the fact.
So why? Why are we like this? What's really behind this bias toward the negative? Well, it's not just a fluke. It goes deep into our psychology. There are basically 3 big reasons that explain why we're just wired for worry.
Okay, number 1, it's evolutionary. Our brains are literally hardwired with a feature called loss aversion. And what that means is, psychologically, the pain you feel from losing something is about twice as powerful as the pleasure you feel from gaining the exact same thing. It makes sense, right? The organisms that treated threats as way more urgent than opportunities, well, they were the ones who survived.
Here's a simple way to think about it. For our ancient ancestors, if you ignore a tiger, you're dead. That's a fatal mistake. If you ignore a piece of fruit, you miss a meal. You can probably find another one later. The threat is always more urgent than the opportunity. And that ancient instinct, it's still running the show in our brains today.
All right, the second reason is pretty simple. Money is everywhere. A hurricane hitting Florida, for example, is a massive story for people in Florida. But it might not feel that urgent to someone in, say, California. But a stock market crash, a recession, that hits everybody. Financial problems feel personal and immediate, no matter who you are, which is why we are totally conditioned to obsess over them. And number 3, this one is really, really important. Pessimism makes this one huge, simple mistake. It assumes the future is just a straight line from today. It takes today's problems and just projects them forward, completely forgetting one crucial thing. Humans are incredible at adapting and finding solutions. We don't move in straight lines.
The whole story of oil is a perfect example of this. So first, you get the prediction. Back in the 2000s, experts were screaming that we were about to run out of oil. That creates an incentive. Prices shoot up, which suddenly makes it profitable to look for new, crazy solutions. And what does that lead to? Innovation. New technologies like fracking get developed and boom, we unlock massive new reserves. The result? A huge production boom, and the crisis is avoided. You see? Problems create incentives which lead to solutions. Pessimists almost never account for that zigzag. Okay, that brings us to the last big idea here. And this one is all about timing. It's about the huge difference in how we see slow, gradual progress versus those big, sudden disasters. So here's the deal. Progress, it's like a tree growing. It happens so incredibly slowly that you just don't notice it from one day to the next. But setbacks, they're like a lightning strike. Sudden, dramatic, impossible to ignore. You know, a plane crash is tomorrow's headline, but the fact that flying gets a little bit safer every single year, that never makes the news.
I mean, just look at this. Over the last 50 years, the death rate from heart disease has dropped by a whopping 70%. That's hundreds of thousands of lives saved every single year. It is a staggering miracle. But because it didn't happen all at once, it happened one person at a time over decades, it never got that big front-page headline.
But one bad day on Wall Street, suddenly that feels more real, more important than 50 years of life-saving medical progress. That's the power of the fast disaster versus the slow miracle. It totally warps how we see things.
So, where does all this leave us? What's the big takeaway? It's really about being aware of these biases we all have. It's about learning to see the bigger picture, to actually notice the trees that are slowly growing, and not just get fixated on the lightning strikes. You know, pessimism feels safe. It's like that famous Stephen Hawking quote, when your expectations are reduced to zero, everything becomes a bonus. It kind of lowers the pressure. But the real danger of always being pessimistic is that it can make you totally blind to the real, incredible progress that's happening all around us all the time.
And that really brings us to the final question. Knowing that our brains are wired this way, that we're built to notice the sudden crash and ignore the slow build, it's worth asking yourself, in your own life, in your work, in the world around you, what slow miracle are you overlooking right now?